Heyo, this is EpicQ56 and Storyboards presenting behind the scenes of 2D Animator tries Garry's mod for the very first time. Or should I say the first time? So all I'm going to say is that this animation in particular, I poured my blood, sweat, and tears into it. Literally blood, sweat, and tears. The blood from my ear infection, the sweat from my anxiousness of my family burst into my room, trying to figure out what I'm doing and stuff, and all the hard work I'm pulling through. And the tears. Tears from both my depression and the tears of joy. Just by me violently completing this. So, and now many of you may be wondering, how did this all played out? So, here is the topics from behind the scenes. So the story summary. So basically a 2D animator tries to animate something in 3D, but something goes wrong. And that's basically the short summary of it. But the thing is, it seems like I kind of overdid it. So instead of it being around, like, let's say around 5 minutes, it went less than 14 minutes instead. But of course, I actually had them in parts as well. So it will be like a list of parts that I have done of what I animate and what I did the editing and have the audios in, etc. So basically, the only parts that I got that made it into the finals is part 1, 2, 3, and 5. So part 4 is basically removed, or should I say fully removed, because I see it as filler and I did not actually have the time to even put it in anyways, because who knows, it won't be like a good it won't be like a good scene or anything. So that's why I actually thought it's best to keep it as short as possible, but it ended up being a little long. And it ended up being worth it. So around 7 months in the making, I should say. So collabing with the 2D and 3D, basically what I've done first is actually do things in 3D. So that's when Garry's mod comes to play. So I have done a lot of like adjusting and then trying to figure out like where can these characters be positioned in Garry's mod. So in Garry's mod is like a good program, I could say. Well, not program or game. Sandbox. What can you describe Garry's mod? I can see it as a sandbox, yes, but like you can actually make games or animations out of this if you really want to. And it's like once I actually tried out Garry's mod, I'm just like, it feels like I am messing around with dead bodies. So yeah, it feels weird at first, like moving some characters around, and it's like it just feels weird, but that's why I got used to it like probably first hour or so, and then that's when I do things in 3D by first, record them, and just make sure that I did not mess it up of something that probably did happen. So, and then after that, that's when I start animating. But in order for me to actually do the measurements from me actually putting the stuff together, is that I had to actually screenshot it. So I had a screenshot as like a quote-unquote background for me to actually put my 2D character onto the effects. But of course, like, I don't want it like the background itself to be like fully paused, so that's why I actually had to put the green screen of my character behind. But because the more you actually see of what I'm working with, then the more you know that I actually have worked through of like how to measure from this point and the other point, and that's when it's like, okay, it looks good enough, or it's like, okay, I need to fix this and might make it a little better, and that's when the results goes to. So the voices, yes, I voiced ZQ and RE. And how I actually voiced RE. So instead of having my actual voice, I had to go a little deeper from like around here or so. But this is the point where I actually have to make my voice a little lower and also have like a robotic little tone to it. But of course I did not like say these things to pause every moment type of thing. So I want to make it a little more natural, and this is what I actually come up. So having this tone, this voice here, but then I have two types of inputs for this voice, is both the pitch and the chorus.
And this will be the result of it. And I can't say that it's fully improved or so, but this is like the closest I can get, because I cannot actually do like the actual engineer's voice or like get his voice lines to try to make it sound natural. So that's why I do this voice instead, so I can actually, it's like I'm actually talking to another person. So instead of actually mixing lines, which that would actually take a lot longer.
And other than that, I would like to thank Jumpers, because I actually found this channel that is dedicated of like Gears of War and sometimes Halo stuff, or he actually does both, because I mostly was there because I'm trying to find like both of Garry Carmine's and Benjamin Carmine's voice lines. And finding Gary's lines is super hard, because there's only like one video, but that's only based from like the first game that he was introduced in, Gears of War 4. So, and with this game like Gears 5, he has multiple voice lines that I want to like actually get, but so I actually had to scavenge the lines of what I got. So I want to get that one line from Garry that he says like, "I got you, buddy," but Jumpers did not actually fully like get all the lines from Garry or Benjamin. So because what he was doing, like he's posting these videos about like secret or like certain voice lines that they do depending on what they're doing. That's why it's like, okay, I probably want to get these types of lines from Garry, and then there was this one line I want to get from Benjamin. It was actually read in the subtitle that I actually want, but it ended up saying this instead. No! Ah! Ah! So yeah, I actually have to just find a good like voice line for Benjamin and have that work out instead. So even though it's not it's a little noticeable. That's why I put the subtitles in there, so you guys would know what they're saying and everything. And oh man, if only someone had a Garry model in Gary's mod, because I feel so bad animating him. Because the thing is, that's the first time I actually draw Garry too. Like, Gary's a cool character, and it feels like I kind of messed it up for him, so I want to apologize to myself of how bad. But hopefully, like, it still works out in the end. I still actually like that. And also for the voice of the monster of that scream. So fun fact, the original audio that I wanted to use was actually from the one animation that I actually, I did not animate it, but the audio was supposed to be used for that certain animation. One of my friends or so, Crafting Vegito. So I used to animate some stuff for him, and back at 2019, I asked him like, "Hey, dude, since I am available in some times or whatever, I have plenty of time for me to animate something for you. Do you have any like suggestions or ideas or so?" And he never replied to me after that. So the animation was supposed to be a response to that. But of course, since I had that audio was never used, I actually thought about recycling. So for the screen, I had to mess it all up is because the model of the heavy was being all messed up. So, and that's why with these input stuff that I put on, that would also means like all the model thing is corrupted, and that's why it became really cartoony. Even though there's a fun fact about that, about that part. So, and that's why the audio should be corrupted as well for that particular character, because everything is all messed up for the monster. So that's why it's like it's best to make it as terrible as possible, and it turned out really well. But of course it feels like I had it way too loud because I did not actually expect it to be that loud. So I'm sorry to make some people's ears bleed. It feels like I'm a little bit good at that. But still good. The programs. So of course the main programs that I've used is Garry's Mod and the Macro Media Flash. And while with the other programs that I've used to help out with the rest is the OBS Studios, which is where I record both Garry's Mod and Macro Media Flash. And I have used Fire Alpaca to actually put some more like certain effects in of some things that could be someone missing or so. And other than that, I can also like draw in some other certain things that I think it's somewhat necessary, but at the same time it's like it's not needed, but yet it's like I had to put it there anyways because I don't know what else to do for it. And I also get a lot of help from it too when I make credits. And also the editing of Sony Vegas. And that's when I put a lot of parts together, even when I had to put a lot of audios and the films together to make that one part each. And lastly, that one program that's only been used for that one scene called Hammer. And Hammer is the world building program that where you can actually make your own maps for either of Team Fortress 2 or Half-Life, etc., etc. So the more you know that I have actually used more than just 2 programs to put together, and it really also like helps out like a lot of certain things that I need. So it is basically like, since I know that there are some things that won't work out, but I managed to make it good enough to see if it all works out, and the results are they were actually pretty good. Of course it took a lot of time, but at the same time it's like it's actually worth it. Because knowing me, like even though I know I'm not like a perfectionist, I just want to get things like smoothly going, and if it looks bad, then I am sorry that it may have looked bad. But for me, I thought my thinking, or more so, I see it as good enough. The power of green and blue screen. So what I mean by blue screen is that this is the only time I actually used the blue screen was for the monster in particular. So because once you actually notice that the monster actually had the special effects around, that's because originally what was planned is I wanted like to actually have a 3D model that's corrupted. But of course, since I couldn't actually make the facial features more like messed up enough, that means I had to make a cartoon out of it. So of course, with the concept art that I work with, and when I draw things out, I was trying to think like, okay, I want to put the effects in, but how can I do that? Well, I can just make the character a certain color where I could put the effects in while the green screen is still in the background, and then that's when, like, by the time I already have the blue screen under effect and the green screen is still there, and that's when I can actually have that rendered, and then that's when I can use the green screen effect to have that character in the background. So it does take like a lot of time for me to think like, okay, so monster's blue, okay, I can get it to be blue just for the animation purposes, and then by the time when I do the editing, that's when I can just do the effects in, render it, and then do the effects again, but to this time it's a green screen. So a lot of process there in there. And also, this is not just happening with 2D, I actually happen to do 3D as well. So with Robin and both ZQ and RE onto the, I know I always mix up the names with Robin and RE, sorry. So the green screen, since once you actually see in that one certain scene, you will actually see the gigantic block of the white screen, but also it's like it will have the green screen around there too. And I also happen to have additional green screens on other like sections as well that's not seen, but it is still actually there. So like I had to use RE onto the green screen so I can actually get him, like for example, to get in front of ZQ for the running animation. And that one time where RE actually trying to take the tool from ZQ, you happen to actually see the arm being over ZQ's arm, or hand I should say, the hand over ZQ's hand, and the rest of it I actually do had to edit like the green screen off. And that's when I had to do that with the Fire Alpaca. So Fire Alpaca is also the program that I use for, like, let's say I want this just edited into the video other than like being actually in Garry's mod. That's when I had to use the green screen and some of the objects, and then I had to take off that screen in particular just to get the objects in. And that also means I got those objects into the Macromedia Flash in case of like if ZQ's like interacting with certain objects, like the tool gun and the physics gun. So it's a lot of stuff to comprehend, but that's when I have so many like screenshots for a lot of certain things, not just the backgrounds, but also the objects in front of the green screen as well. And even RE as well. Putting the parts together is basically when, depending on what I have realized the video. So basically, of course, like when I finish one part each, I always re-look through the video just to see what needs to be edited or what needs to be fixed. Because I know there are certain parts that look like little weird, and that's when I started to think like, okay, let me try to edit these things and see if it works out, and then if it didn't work out, I can always re-edit. So of course, if I actually do want to preview it in the editing program, but due for it to be so slow, because it can't really comprehend the videos at a time. That's why I actually had to render the video just to preview it, just to see how it goes. And if I actually notice some mistakes, that's when I actually get back to it and rework and fix certain things up. There is that one part where like RE's voice didn't actually like go through because it ended up being my voice instead. So that's when it's like I had to re-render, because when I actually preview it in the program, it sound fine, but then after rendering it didn't sound fine. So that's like, okay, so I can re-render it, or like if I notice some mistakes like in certain backgrounds or the characters interactions are not like cooperative well, or the sync is off or so, that's when I actually get back to the program, the editing, and then that's when I start fixing things through. And overall, is like even the finals of the parts, I do notice that they may seem a little off, but then that's when it's like when I put all the parts together, except part 4, of course. That's when I can start editing and fixing up the rest, and then that's when I actually review the whole thing. And if I notice anything strange or so, that's when I actually start re-rendering. But then once everything is all completed, that's when it's like, okay, so it works out. I hope, even though I can still see some flaws. So of course, there are some like deleted, like, well, I can't say deleted, it's just that they didn't really make it through. So like even there was like some voice lines that I did not actually like go for, because the thing is, it still ended up being a little bit of filler anyways. But there are like some lines that I thought it could have been nice to put in, but at the same time it's like, okay, it probably will not be noticeable if it's there anyways. So, and of course there's this character that's actually supposed to be appearing in part 4, but since part 4 was scrapped, it's like it didn't actually work out anyway. So I actually left part 4 everything into the trash bin, but at the same time it's not even in the trash bin. I actually had to make the storyboard and all that type of stuff. So also, fun fact, because I actually forgot to mention it before, unless I already did. So all of this was non-scripted, no storyboard. I animate all of this just to like think through my head of like, okay, I could approve of this, or I could just not do this and move on to the thing I also want to do. So of course, yeah, no script. I actually voiced everything to see what fits. But of course there are different lines as well that I had to make sure like what goes well of interacting with what and what good response is for what. So, and a fun fact about the character, since the character did not actually show up until like it's supposed to be in part 4. So originally the character that I wanted to appear was Miss Pauling, but actually had a TV for a head. So basically I thought like this will be like a robotic Miss Pauling, while the actual Miss Pauling is actually doing some things else that has to do with contracts. So of course you will actually still see Miss Pauling in the screen and everything, and the 15.ai is what actually supposed to go with that certain role, that I can actually make custom lines for Miss Pauling for like interactions of ZQ and Robin. And that's why it's like I wanted to have the TV for her head, is because like since the 15.ai didn't really have like her actual, well, the thing is it does have her voice, but it's like it's more has a radio static in the background or so, because it's like she is talking through a walkie-talkie or something. So that's why I thought like it'll be basically a TV for a head onto Miss Pauling's body. Then that will be for like as the robotic Miss Pauling. But then after when I heard about the 15.ai was basically shut down for further maintenances, and that was during that time, that's why I was like, okay, I could probably do a whole new character. I could do a whole different type of character. So she probably would have been actually like named or anything, but I was like, okay, because I think it could have been like a secret or so, but since it won't be a secret anyways, because I'm actually gonna say this, so this character could have been called Miss Susie. So basically with Miss Susie, she will also have a TV for her head, but this would have been like the green robot spy's body instead. So, and of course there will be like a logo onto the screen, and she will actually have shown like certain emotions, because due to the glasses frame of that logo, it's like it would have actually shown some expressions for her. So And of course, Miss Susie would also have like a radio static effect, but I also did not actually think of a voice for her because I've been going through some time like trying to think of other parts that I want to fill in. So, but of course, like so, I thought of the character, and I actually did have the model like set onto the behind. That one scene from Garry's mod. So yeah, she would have been like a 3D model, but the screen, it would have been like 2D, so it actually has some expressions onto her. It actually would have been a great idea, but it did not actually go through. So of course, the difference between with the Miss Pauling and, well, the robotic Miss Pauling and Miss Susie is basically the interactions would have been different. So, and that's why it's like I had to think of the different story scenes for both of them. Well, even though originally, like I said, like I had a story in part 4 with Miss Pauling, but then I had to change the story with this whole new character, Miss Susie. And of course, there's a different part as well. So another thing is like, okay, I probably want to keep things more shorter, so I probably would have had her like Miss Susie in the background or something if ZQ and RE are actually like in the that supply room, well, the spawn room. Because originally ZQ and RE were supposed to land through the buildings, through the ground to the where the intel room is. So because it could have been certain in that spot, but I ended up putting them into the spawn instead, just to skip all the way through with part 4. So, or just try to keep things more short in part 4, but that didn't actually happen. So of course, I did not have all the time that I need to actually make part 4. So that's why it's like, okay, so everything's all gone and everything. So, but luckily, I would actually make the storyboard for part 4, and not just from with Miss Polly and Miss Susie. There's actually 3 alternative part 4s that I'm trying to make just for this, you know, for the scene, because things I'm trying to keep short, but I did not. So, and here is part 4.
Well, at least falling to our deaths is over.
Yep. I'm dying.
Yeah, well, sorry, Miss Pauling. I'm not the engineer you're looking for. I'm sure you're looking for, more human-like.
Yeah, sorry, I don't think we're gonna be able to be much help for you, especially if one of us is in pain. Do you actually have a human hand inside that robotic glove of yours?
No, I don't. She's just in that.
Huh. Alright. Also, how did we end up here?
That, my friend, I don't know. We should get out of here.
Sure. But, can you help me for a bit? My leg is stuck. Quite interesting.
Yeah, we didn't expect anybody to be here, so you're kind of lucky that you didn't crush into the big pile of rubble here.
Oh man, I'm dying.
Here, I found this medicine. It might help.
Thanks, man. Well, it seems you two have quite the flow there, which is a big surprise because we're in underground. But unfortunately, I don't want to get too distracted since I've come this far to gain what I need. So I'll take my leave. Wait a minute. Are there more people like you around here? No, it's just me. This place has been abandoned for quite some time. That's why I've come here to pick up of what they left. And now I got what I needed. I'll be going. And I hope I don't see you two ever again. Take care. And by the way, please don't follow me. Thank you.
Well, that was pretty weird.
Little help? Please? So of course, last but not least, the questions and answers. But sadly, there is no questions and answers at the moment. But I do want to say thank you guys for actually watching the 2D Animator tries Garry's mod for the first time. Because I know I always say like 2D Animator tries Garry's mod for the very first time. But it's not the case. Because it is the first time, but sadly it is the last time. Because I stink at 3D. So if you guys actually have not watched 2D Animator tries Garry's mod, I recommend it, but at the same time, if you're not interested of like random 3D stuff mixing with 2D, then I don't recommend it. But still, it's like I'm so glad I was given this opportunity to try this because I enjoyed making. So I actually enjoy of trying something that I'm not really comfortable with at first, but then like once later on, it's like, you know, this is actually not that bad as I thought it would be. Even though it's not my strong suit, but overall I still enjoy of making the Garry's mod stuff. And you may never know, I would actually might get back to it, but at the same time as like, I'm sure not a lot of people will even want me to even work with 3D stuff. So that is understandable. And also, I don't even know how other people that makes Gmod, I don't know how they even make their animations so good, or even got the outfits for the characters and everything. It's like, man, how do you guys do these things? I'm jealous. But of course, since I am fairly new, well, very new, I probably will not actually have those chances. So, and that's fine, because it's like, I tried something, I succeed, but at the same time I probably didn't succeed. It's just all about trying the best and putting a lot of effort into something that you don't think that you can't work with again, but what matters is like you put a lot of time into the one opportunity, and just to see that many people might actually enjoy it, so, or many people will think it's not really good, but at the same time some people will think it's good. Everybody has different opinions that I know of, and just seeing my animation, like, for me, I actually wish I had like 100 views already, but at the same time, it's like, hey, I have patience, so I don't mind. But like, I actually really like to see it go, so just to be all grown up and strong, and then once I look back into it, like, I don't know, what, 5 years or something? Probably once I look back to it, and then once I see it, it's like, man, it just looks so good. Even though I can see the mistakes here and there, and it's like, I'm still proud of what I made. I'm just proud of me work. And yeah. It's all about being proud, you know? Even if it's just a little bit of what you worked with. Even if you have some mistakes here and there, it's all about like you're just proud of your work and how you have efforts into it. Because like the thing is, you did try your best. We all tried our best, you know. So now I'm happy with the result, even though I know there's mistakes here or there, but I'm still happy with it. And I don't care what everybody said. I'm proud. Yeah, it goes on a little too long. Okay, so thank you for randomly watching. Many more maybe coming soon. May never know. May never know. And when I mean many more, I mean like basically my 2D animations and my gameplays and stuff. So yeah. So thank you for randomly watching, and ZeppyQ56 is out. Please.